Good evening. I'll bring this regular City Council meeting to order. We could please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Mayor Jones. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Mayor McPartlin?
Here.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Here.
Councilmember Dixon?
Here.
Councilmember Dodd?
Here.
And Councilmember Nunn?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, we're going to recess to convene an attorney-client session meeting upstairs in accordance with Florida State Statute 286.011, parentheses 8, in regard to pending litigation in accordance with the request made at the March 12, 2025 regular City Council meeting by City Attorney Jennifer Cockcroft to discuss the following case: Gilliams versus the City of Sebastian, case number 24-AP-02. The estimated length of the session will be about 30 minutes, and those attending the attorney-client session will be myself, Mayor Bob McPartlin, Vice Mayor Fred Jones, Council Member Kelly Dixon, Council Member Ed Dodd, Council Member Chris Nunn, the City Attorney Jennifer Cockcroft, Special Counsel Andrew Mai, the City Manager Brian Benton, and a certified court reporter. So we'll be in recess for about 30 minutes. Welcome back. At this time, I'll reopen our public meeting to announce termination of the attorney-client session. Please accept item 7, agenda modifications. Council, anyone have any agenda modifications?
No.
No.
Please accept the proclamations, awards, and brief announcements. We have a presentation of first pitch baseballs. President Jason Patterson,
Are we going down
Ashley
there?
Wright, and Amber Serta. You want to come down and catch yours, or you want to catch it up here?
I'll come down.
You also have to catch them from up here. Oh, they're in a box. It might be uncomfortable to catch it.
Jason couldn't make it, but he sends his love, and we just want to say thank you for coming out and supporting us, and we're grateful for our partnership once again, and we can't wait till next year.
Thank you. Thank you.
We wish you a great season.
Thank you. It's been great so far. Good.
All right.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Opening day. It's happened.
Yeah. You did a great job singing the national anthem.
Yes, he did. So, should have him do the pledge today.
I know.
I didn't know he was in the audience. But fantastic. Have a wonderful season. And if there's any of the scoreboards need any fixing, there's the guy to ask right there. He'll take care of it. He's sitting over there. Okay.
We'll let you know.
All right. Work through him up to him. That's it.
right,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber. All right.
All right. It was a pleasure.
All right, next we have a presentation by Cindy Diamond and Debbie Schoonover. The Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Return campaign of Indian River County.
I think I'm on. I think everybody will be able to hear me okay? Okay, good. First of all, thank you for having us here this evening. We want to talk to you about the campaign that we currently have underway to have TNVR, which stands for Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, and Return. It's a program for feral cats, and I'll explain in a little bit more detail. But in the end, that we're asking for your support of the town of Sebastian, that you would support us to go back to the county commissioners and say that the city of Sebastian approves of this proposal. So first off, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Cindy Diamond and my colleague Debbie Schoonover. We are both active volunteers at the Humane Society, but I want to point out that we're doing this as concerned citizens. Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Return is exactly what it sounds. It's the most humane and effective way to control the population of feral cats. As our population grows in Indian River County, in Sebastian, Fellsmere, and Vero Beach, there's more and more cats that are getting abandoned, and therefore the population is increasing. What this program would do, this would allow the community to be able to go out, trap these cats in humane traps, bring them to the shelter to have them spayed or neutered, get rabies shot, and then an ear tip. The ear tip indicates that the cat has gone through the program so that that doesn't have to go through the program again. I'll talk in more detail about how this is such an effective program. I just also want to point out that cats have lived healthy lives outdoors for thousands of years. It wasn't until recently in the 1960s, with the development of cat litter and the marketing of cat litter, that cats became indoor pets. When I lived up in New Jersey, and I've been down here for about 8 years, I was able to do I'm going to say TNR and TNVR interchangeably. It's just the vaccinations are in between, and some institutions call it one thing and some call it another. I was able to do TNR in my own backyard, And that was 17 years ago. I volunteered at a local SPC up there, and as soon as I came down here, I wanted to go to our Humane Society. And they explained to me that TNVR was not legal in Indian River County. I want to point out that it is legal within 2/3 of the counties in Florida, including our most closest neighbors, Brevard and Martin counties. Also, Indian River County and Nassau County are the only 2 counties on the East Coast that don't have this program. What the Humane Society did to be able to deal with these feral cats that were coming into, let me just explain what a feral cat is, just in case people don't understand. A feral cat is a cat that has been born outside, has not been socialized, and is not a cat that you would have in your home. Sometimes feral cats can be used as rodent patrol, and that's exactly what the Humane Society was doing. So as these feral cats were coming into the Humane Society, they would put them out into the barn with the hopes that somebody would adopt them for a barn cat or maybe even a warehouse to help with the rodent situation. Unfortunately, the supply of these cats was much more than the demand. So what the Humane Society was doing is they were letting these cats loose out of the barn. Unfortunately, they weren't staying put. Even though they purchased 2 donkeys to protect these cats, they were wandering off, and we found that they were getting preyed on by coyotes. So if we don't get TNVR approved, the Humane Society might have to go back to euthanizing these poor cats. It would be, their feeling is that it would be more humane to euthanize them to then actually put them out there to be prey to coyotes. And that's certainly something that nobody wants to have to do. We started our campaign in July of 2024, right after we found out that the barn program wasn't effective. We've met with the county commissioners, Department of Health, Animal Control, of course the Humane Society Board of Directors, the Audubon Society, I'll talk about that in a little bit later, Dr. Sarah from Dr. Dan's practice, Jackie Patrone right here from Sebastian Halo, and Ted Pankowitz for the Love of Paws. Somebody that's been extremely helpful to us is Frank Valente from the Treasure Coast Humane Society, who's shared some excellent data with us that proves that TNVR really does work. Some of the real benefits to the community and what you would want to know as council members is what can this do for the community? I'm sure you've heard community complaints about, especially this time of year when it's breeding season. When you have cats out there, they're yowling, they're fighting, they're spraying urine, it's a mess. If you were to neuter or spay these cats, those behaviors would cease to exist. You wouldn't have that problem anymore. Also, less cats. You spay 1 female cat, and a conservative estimate, that cat could produce 84 kittens in a lifetime. 1 female cat, you could save 84 kittens from being out there. There's also a very good, well-known peer-reviewed study that prove it works by a Dr. Julie Levy from the University of Florida. She published this study and got Alley Cat Allies involved when she found out on the campus there was numerous feral cats in the area. She found during an 11-year study there was a 66% decline in the number of feral cats out there. I went back and I found an updated study from 2017. They're now down to 10 cats. I also have some data I will share with you from the Treasure Coast Humane Society that's even more current and more local that I think you'll appreciate. 80% of Americans believe that it's more humane to leave a cat outside than to euthanize it. So that would be also a thing that if, God forbid, the Humane Society had to start euthanizing cats again, that would cause a lot of upset within the community. Also, this would increase community satisfaction. Currently, there's really nothing going on right now to decrease the feral cat population. Those cats are out there, and as we bring in more members to this community, the number of feral cats grows with the community size. We would be able to go out there and educate the community how to trap these cats humanely and how to clean up the feeding stations that are out there, which can be rather unsightly. This would considerably help the Humane Society. They have severe capacity issues. Due to economic issues and other issues, people are bringing more and more cats in there. Data that we got from Treasure Coast Humane Society, before they implemented their program, they were bringing in about 1,800 stray cats per year. After implementation of the program, that number dropped to 1,000. 800 less cats for a 44% decrease. If this was not implemented, this would go directly against the no-kill movement. And I'm sure most of you have heard about the no-kill movement. This started, it was very predominant in the 80s and 90s when a group of people, mostly led by Best Friends Animal Society, they said we shouldn't be killing these healthy animals. So therefore, let's come up with better approaches that we can go and save animals' lives. You're not going to go from a no-kill status going back in time to what was happening in the 50s and 60s when animal shelters were killing healthy animals because they just didn't have the capacity to handle them. This would also give us the ability to provide a valuable free service to the community. The whole idea of this is to be able to do it for free. Okay? The way that this would be funded is through grants. As a matter of fact, down in Martin County, 95% of their funding comes from grants, places like Best Friends, ASPC, Humane Society, and Rachel Ray. So why are we saying trap, neuter, vaccinate, return, as opposed to other methods that might be able to control the situation? This has been something that has been out there since 1990 and before with the development of Alley Cat Allies, who's the leading global advocacy group that's dedicated to protecting community cats. So that was 35 years ago that this became a predominant organization. Catch and kill does not work. What will happen is these cats, they pick their little community based off availability of resources, including shelter, food, and protection from predators. This is a desirable little neighborhood. If you remove those cats from that neighborhood, other cats are going to come in and backfill that area, and they are going to reproduce because they have not been spayed or neutered. And this is based off of a scientifically proved phenomena called the vacuum effect. Other approaches, such as adoption and relocation, also fail. You can't adopt out a feral cat, okay? If you've ever been exposed to a feral cat, they run, okay? If you cornered them, they'd be petrified. They cannot live in a home. The only thing that you can do with them, which is the nice thing that we're proposing, is put them back into their home, their outdoor home, where they have lived their entire lives healthy. And I will talk about their health. Removing them and putting them someplace else doesn't work, as we have found out at the Humane Society. Good intentions, we got to get these cats out of the community, but then you put them out in the barn. They're so panic-stricken because it's not their home, they take off, and unfortunately, we believe that the coyotes were getting them. Only about 20% of the cats that are out there as strays or community cats are actually truly adoptable cats. These are cats that have been abandoned by their owners for whatever reasons. These are the cute little fuzzy kitties that my friend Debbie and I socialize at the Humane Society, getting them ready for their next home. I just also want to make note that Alley Cat Allies is currently petitioning Governor DeSantis to make TNVR legal within the state of Florida. There are two big organizations that are very much opposed to TNVR. One is the Department of Health, and the second is the Audubon Society. The Department of Health stance on TNVR is that they adhere to the Rabies Prevention and Control Compendium, which states the concept of managing free-roaming feral cats is not tenable on public health grounds due to health risks, including rabies to the public. Essentially what that means to me is that they fear that these cats are unhealthy, so let's just stay away from them. We don't want to address this issue, so we're just going to stay away from them. Their own data shows from 2022 that on average there's only 11 cases per year of cats testing positive for rabies in the entire state of Florida. That is by far lower than raccoons at 75, bats are even higher at 18, and foxes at 15. The only way that you can contract an infectious disease from a cat is either through direct contact with that cat or its feces. As I had just pointed out, you're not going to be walking down the street and a feral cat come up and attack you, okay? That cat is going to run from you. They're very, very scared of you. Also, another really great statistic that I found is that out of a database that registered 104,000 feral cats that went through TNVR, less than 1% of them needed to be euthanized for illness. So these cats are coming in, they're just as healthy as your cat at home, and there's no need to euthanize them. The things that the Department of Health does agree with, and we support also, is preventing abandonment, educating the community to keep cats indoors, and ordinances for neutering and vaccinations. But they have absolutely no plan how to address the community cats that are currently out there. They're trying to ebb the flow of more cats getting out there, but they don't have a plan, nor will they address it because it goes against their rabies prevention and control compendium. Another organization that is opposed to TNVR is the Audubon Society. In my talking points, I just want to note that it should say the Audubon stance on TNR is that it does not work. This is based off of a study from 2004 and 2009 from the Cornell lab that simply states that TNR is less effective at reducing populations of feral cats than euthanizing. Their stance is that first, try to get the cat adopted. Not going to work because these are not adoptable cats. Second, put them in a sanctuary, which sounds lovely, but in reality, the money that it would cost to build this, the staffing and to maintain it would be very expensive. In addition, it's found that most of these sanctuaries get overcrowded and you have disease spreading from cat to cat. And then their third option is euthanizing. Euthanizing is not an option. It is not an option in my opinion, and I think if you asked a lot of people out there, probably at least 80% would say that you don't want to euthanize these cats. They would rather have them to be outside. So, one of the things that we learned from Frank Valenti down at the Treasure Coast Humane Society is the way that he got his program approved down in Martin County. I think he must have got it approved in like 2018 or so, is he started a targeted TNVR campaign. And what that does, and it's a great way to start, because it addresses that you have limited resources, okay? When you first start out, you got to get grants, but it's going to take a little while to get those grants in. So funding, veterinarian services, and space. So what you do is you start with a small subset of cats, 100, 150, something in that ballpark. And you work with those small subset of colonies, and if they're contiguous to each other, that's even the better, because sometimes cat colonies will go from one to the other. And you strive to get at least a 90% sterilization rate. And when you're focusing your efforts on just a small volume of cats, it's much easier to do. When they did this 5-year pilot program in 2001, they started out with 138 cats. At the end of the program, there was only 80, and that was a 42% decrease. After about the first year or two, no new kittens were born. So that population didn't increase at all, it just continued to decrease. The remaining cats lived out their natural life in their natural span, being very helpful without the stressors of having to mate and reproduce. There were 0 cats that had to be euthanized because they weren't healthy. So, what's our vision and what's our next steps and what are we hoping your help with? What we would like to be able to see in Indian River County, or a pilot program even in Sebastian, we would love to do that, is to be able to provide free TNVR services to the community through a multi-pronged approach. That approach would be targeted TNVR, which might be the way to start, and then expand it to return to field, which would be animal control. When they're out there and they get a complaint from somebody in the community, they would then take those cats, they would bring them to the Humane Society, put them through the program, and then they would be returned back to their home being outside. Grassroots approach is that people in the individual community, let's say you have a couple cats in your backyard, you would be able to trap those cats and bring them in. The way that this is typically done is that you could get those traps directly from the local shelter, and they usually just take a deposit, and it's a refundable deposit when you return that trap. So what we want to do is try to make it as easy on people as possible and be able to educate them. The next thing we plan on doing before we go back to the county commissioners is we need to show them a detailed business plan. And in that business plan, we have some great information from Best Friends Animal Society, who's one of the also leaders in this area, that has best practice standards on how to set up a community cat program. This is something that's being done all throughout Florida. Clearly, we could get information on that. It wouldn't be hard to do. So what we're asking of you is to approve our TNVR proposal as a viable option to reduce the feral cat population. And from what I understand, you could write a letter to the county commissioners saying that as the city, we approve of this concept and we would like to see something like this implemented. So I thank you for your consideration. And does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Council, any questions? No?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, do you have the brief announcements?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
We're there? We're ready?
Yep, we're there.
Okay, announcements. Friday, March 28th, Chamber of Commerce concert in the park, 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Tom McLear and Renell. Saturday, March 29th, National Vietnam War Veterans Memorial Day observance in Riverview Park at the Veterans Memorial, and that will start at 11 a.m.
All right, thank you, sir. That leads us up to public input. Now is the time for anybody who wants to speak to the council on an item that's not already on the agenda. Now's the time. Anyone on Zoom?
No, at this time.
All right, close public input. Leads us up to item 10, Community Redevelopment Agency. So I'll recess the regular city council meeting and convene the Community Redevelopment Agency. Leads us up to item 10A, consider the draft February 26, 2025 CRA minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'll recommend approval of item A.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Vice Chairman Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Nunn,
Yes.
and Chairman McPartlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Leads us up to item 10B, consider approval of the annual Riverfront Community Redevelopment Association report for fiscal year 2023-2024. Ms. Bernard.
Good evening. This is in accordance with required by Florida statute. This is the annual report that has to be sent to the county by March 31st of every year. You'll see attached to this agenda the actual report itself. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about what we've done over the past 12 months and anything I can do to help clarify any questions.
Council, any questions for Ms. Bernard? No? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
No, at this time.
All right, roll call, Ms. Williams.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Nunn,
Yes.
Chairman McPartlin,
Yes,
and Vice Chairman Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
thank you. Leads us up to item C, consider adoption of a resolution for a Florida Inland Navigation District grant for the construction of Swing and Bench Park. Ms. Bernard, and
Good evening. So staff has put together some applications that we are interested in and seeking grant funding for. This is in alignment with Find Florida Inland Navigational District. And so part of that match would come from the CRA funding. And so in looking at that, we want to make sure that it is in alignment with our adopted redevelopment master plan. And you can see that improvements for that would definitely be in alignment with pocket parks and major themes within the CRA. And it's consistent with our guidelines. I'd be happy to answer any questions. In addition, I have Richard here with us to answer anything as well.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval of item 10C.
Second?
Mr. Mayor, if I may add
Yes.
just one thing.
Mr. Benton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to provide a little bit of additional input on the funding source. So as you all have seen over the last year, we're applying for a lot of grants. So we do have additional grant funds we've applied for this project. So hopefully, as we continue to bundle grants as we get them for these, it can reduce the contribution from the CRA or the city for these items. So that'll be the case on quite a few of the grant applications you see tonight, but I just wanted to provide that clarification for this item. and going forward that we are applying for additional grants as well.
Well, I'm glad you're always looking out for these fine grants. Right? All right. Got a motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
All right. Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Nunn?
Yes.
Chairman McPartlin?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jones?
Yes.
And Ms. Dixon?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Leads us up to item D, consider adoption of a resolution for a fine grant for the dredging of the Main Street boat ramp area. Ms. Bernard.
Good evening. So this is right next to Swing and Bench, the Swing and Bench area, and this is also in alignment with the major theme being infrastructure and drainage, waterfront parks and public spaces in accordance with the adopted plan. And like we said earlier, that it would be that match would come from CRA.
Any questions, council?
I'm very happy this is moving forward because a lot of people complain about the depth there at that boat ramp, so it's very much needed. I'll make a motion to approve item D.
Second.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Mr. Nunn?
Yes.
Chairman McPartlin?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Dixon? I'm
Yes.
sorry. And Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, leads us up to item E, consider approval of Resolution R-25-10, approving an application for a Florida Boating Improvement Program grant for Main Street boat ramp dredging and improvements along with required matching funding and authority to execute. Ms. Bernard.
So just as the city manager spoke about a minute ago, we're trying to put together several different funding sources and grant opportunities to reduce the overall cost. This is through the Florida Boating Improvement Program grant, and this would also be to help with the dredging at Main Street. And with CRA funding, it is in alignment with the major theme of infrastructure and drainage, waterfront parks, and public spaces. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, council. Any questions for staff?
No, sir, but I'd like to make a statement if you don't mind. You know, it's written that this will allow for a safer ingress and egress. This is a big thing for that boat ramp down there. I'm down there frequently, and I talk to a lot of folks that put boats out there, and it's becoming a real issue. So this is very important for us to get this taken care of.
Are you down to ask a question or just trying to get a ride in a boat?
I don't go on boats anymore, unless they're 80 foot.
Well.
High roller.
All right, there we go.
Nobody's picking up on his thumb as he stands on the
That's
dock.
right, that's right. All right. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item E.
Second.
All right. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
All right, roll call, Ms. Williams.
Chairman McPartlin?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
And Mr. Nunn?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Leads us up to item 11, the consent
We
agenda.
have to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull
Oh,
item F.
I'm sorry. Let me adjourn the CRA and reconvene this city council meeting. Yeah, that different print kind of threw me off. All right, now we're up to the consent agenda.
There we
I'd
go.
like to pull item F, please.
I would like to pull item E, please.
F.
Council, any others?
No.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve items 11A, B, C, D, G, H, I, J, and K.
Second.
All right. Okay. All those in favor? Oh, we might have some money on
There's
this.
money.
Roll call, Ms. Williams on this.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
And Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank
All
you.
right, item E, city council consideration of waiving rental fees and
Yes.
approval of the road closure.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Benton or Mr. Blankenship to bring up the fact that we're adding a bunch of youth events to the calendar.
Thank you, Council. Yes, we're trying diligently to bring some programs here for the younger families. One of those in this case is the tennis tournament that is for only 12 and under boys and girls. Then we have the I-9 Sports League. So we're diligently looking for those type of programs with qualified instructors that the city has a limited financial liability in the case. And So that's a focus of ours at this point. And yeah, I-9 sports with the, this will be the first that, you know, we have baseball, but this is a feeder program for baseball. We have flag, or we have football, this will be a feeder program. We don't have any soccer.
Right.
So that should be a big part of this I-9 program.
And we've heard that pickleball is big with our youth, and then to bring in tennis.
We had a pickleball clinic last week
Right.
for youth. We have one next week for adults that's sold out. So it's picking up.
And this is all part of our strategic plan, is to bring more activities and events for our younger residents. So, thank you. That's why I wanted to pull it.
A lot of families in Sebastian. People don't realize
A lot.
how many families are in Sebastian. So.
Yes, that's why I'm up here. I move approval for item E.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
All right, roll call, Ms. Williams.
Councilmember Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, leads up to item F. Mr.
Okay,
Dodd.
I don't have any issue with the concepts in this agreement. This is kind of an evolving and new part of federal and state law, and I anticipate that at some point in time, many local municipalities are going to really start talking about the cost of this, and there may be some mechanism to reimburse some of those costs, because the agreement basically says that the local government bears the cost of their involvement in this, salaries and so forth. I just kind of like to recommend to Brian that we do some creative accounting on this so that we are able to identify the costs that are associated with actions that come not as a direct result of police activity that I mean, it's one thing from a dollar point of view, if there's actions that are asked by ICE for us to do separate from our normal policing, if we can isolate those costs well enough, so if at some point in time we may be able to recoup some of that. You know, this is one of those things that's evolving as we go and as we speak, and hopefully sometime somebody somewhere is going to figure out that it's an unfunded mandate on local governments, and we don't mind doing the work and don't mind exercising the authority. We just would like to get some money out of it if we can. So maybe isolate it out some way so that it might be possible for us to have the records needed to do that.
Yes, sir. I'll have a discussion with Chief Acosta on that item so that we can kind of outline what our costs are. I know that there has been some state funds that have been allocated in this assistance program for training and such, and I know that they are offering training in a virtual capacity as opposed to us having to send our officers away for a week or 2 weeks for training. So there will be virtual offering here, but that obviously will take them staff hours off the road and off of their daily duties.
Right.
So I'll make sure we're tracking all that in case we get the notification that, hey, any training or any of those items are eligible for reimbursement. So we'll have that tracked along the way so we can file for that reimbursement if it presents itself.
All right, good, thank you. Okay, given that, I move approval of item F.
Second.
Anyone from the public who wish to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
All right, roll call, Ms. Williams.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
And Councilmember Dixon?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
These are up to committee reports, and anybody have any committee reports? All right, no public hearings, no unfinished business. New business, item A, consider purchase orders for asphalt paving systems not to exceed $1,477,223.45 for Phase 3 road repaving, and authorize the city manager or designee to execute. Mr. Benton, are you taking this?
I'm going to let Lee take this one over since he says I always speak over him. So.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This request is to finalize Phase 3 of the road repaving. This will complete the preservation work and the addition to Barber Street.
All right, Council, any questions for Lee?
If I understand it right, this will get us caught up, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
Then I move approval.
Second.
All right, motion second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom? I can't believe the amount of roads that got paved this year.
Right.
Thank you very much. Staff has done an incredible job.
I do want to say one thing, just because it's a huge chunk of money. This is fully budgeted planned money to be spent. This isn't something we just decided to do, and I know that sounds like something people should know, but not everybody knows that. So fully budgeted and planned for years to get this done. So very happy it's happening.
Get a motion and a second. Roll call, Ms. Williams?
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Dixon?
Yes.
And Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank
All
you.
right, Lisa, up to 15B, consider adoption of Resolution R-25-09 for a fine grant for the expansion of the Working Waterfront District. Mr. Benton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as Mr. Blankenship is getting kind of settled in, this is another one of the items that we had previously applied for an FCT grant. And I know that Mr. Blankenship had a pre-award meeting yesterday with the FCT to hopefully, so they can come and visit the site, see what our ideas are for this location. So hopefully that results in some funding. However, we're also always looking for additional ways to increase funding for these projects. And for this specific item, in looking at purchasing the similar property, we are requesting approval to apply for an additional fine grant that would provide funding for this. If you have any other specific questions, Mr. Blankenship is available.
Council, any questions for Richard?
I move approval.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call, Ms. Williams.
Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
And Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Leads us up to 15C, consider resolution number R-25-11 for the creation of a purchase order for Motorola Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $92,238 to provide public safety communications. Mr. Benton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So obviously I've got Barb here who can answer any specific questions, but we are requesting approval. This will provide us with additional public safety security communication equipment here at City Hall. And we are requesting the approval of this purchase order in the amount of $92,238. There will be additional requests in this year's budget for other locations on this campus, but this one is specifically to City Hall, the parking area adjacent to it, and improving our security here around City Hall.
All right, thank you. Anyone have any questions for
Yeah,
Barbara?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to ask Mr. Benton and the attorney, do we need to announce the change that we had in the public meeting here?
We can do that now.
All right.
Just for the record, we have a scrivener's error in the title of Resolution R-2511. The correct title should be a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Florida, approving a piggyback contract with Motorola Business Solutions, Inc. for public safety communications in substantial conformity with the agreement attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A, adoption of recitals, providing for conflicts, severability, and effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. I hear a motion in that?
Yes.
You did?
He said yes. I second.
Yes.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
And Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, that leads us up to city attorney matters. Ms. Cockcroft, I see you got an item here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So tonight I'm bringing forward an item at your direction. We talked about this back in July and September, I believe, of last year. Council gave me direction at that time to bring it back to you for discussion. Just to bring everybody up to date, so we have an 11-year contract with the current magistrate. It's a year-to-year contract. It's a very low rate. It's $150 an hour. Mr. Armitage is a great lawyer who's provided a long-term service to the city. But at this time, we think due to, government best procurement practices, it was best to bring back to the council to determine what you wanted to do. After some discussions, if you recall, in July and September last year, you asked me to look for a new special magistrate. So I just wanted to let you know, and it's outlined in the backup,
that a special magistrate is a position of the state, and it's considered an office, just like city, council members, subject to all of those ethical obligations and whatnot. And you can only be a special magistrate, therefore, for one jurisdiction. So based on all of that and the legal restrictions for a special magistrate that you need their qualifications to be, it is kind of a limited pool. I put it out for proposals, basically, from local government lawyers in Brevard and Indian River County, being the nearby adjoining with a lawyer population. I asked for a local government lawyer with experience. I only received one proposal from a lawyer who's based out of Brevard County. She does have experience being on a board. The board is the Port Canaveral Authority. She has a lot of experience in contract law and government law. The other option that you can always go to is back to a code board or continue the current magistrate's agreement. You'll notice that the fees as outlined for the proposal that I received is $400 a billable hour. That may seem a bit high, but if we look at the trends of the billing rates for attorneys, particularly those with a lot of experience, local government lawyers, I did a survey sort of some of the government proposals from other jurisdictions, and you're looking at $700 to $800 an hour now for experienced attorneys. A government rate at this point is generally around $400 an hour, and that's what we have with our litigation counsel as well. So that's just for your information. I have a draft letter in the backup for you if you decide to go forward with terminating the contract, just so you have that prepared. And if you did decide to go that route, I would like council to provide direction as to who's going to sign that on behalf of the city, whether it's the mayor or the city manager. I don't have anything further. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them, hopefully.
Council, any thoughts on?
I have a comment, if I can do it. I don't have any problem with the contract agreement with Mr. Armitage. We need to continue to be able to do this, but I would personally like to see if there's a consensus of council for us to ask the staff to pull and review our entire code enforcement procedure so that we have an opportunity to review the way that we're performing code enforcement. We can have an opportunity to review how we handle code enforcement cases and how we handle the fining of the process. It would give us an opportunity to talk about. Go ahead.
Just make sure you know that you're going to be having to be in accord with the statutes on that, right? We can't go too far beyond the code enforcement statutes.
Oh, I'm not proposing we do anything beyond the statutes. That's what I would ask an attorney to tell me, is where it's within the statutes. Okay. It's certainly within the statutes for us to talk about how we enforce code enforcement and how we do it and what the fine structures are. I mean, I know what the statutes right. Give us some flexibility in that. I'm just not comfortable personally that we're doing everything that we can do, and our code enforcement officers are great. I'm not questioning them personally. Okay, they're great. They do a great job. I'm just talking about the overall process itself. I'd like to do the new contract with Mr. Armitage to give us through the process while we do this, and if the outcome of this evaluation is that we stay with him as a special magistrate, that's fine. But I'd like to establish some process by which we do that. I'm just not comfortable that we're doing everything we need to do from a code enforcement perspective. I've had conversations with other officials in other cities. They do a lot of stuff that we don't do. We have people get by with stuff that they don't have people get by with. And I would like to make sure that I'm comfortable personally that we're taking all those steps. I mean, I had conversations yesterday with people from 2 cities about the way that they do code enforcement, and I was kind of shocked at how more effective they are with their code enforcement process.
Mr. Mayor, yes. I would like to echo Mr. Dodd's sentiment. I have spoken to many of our city leaders over the past couple of years from other cities throughout the state, and I feel like our system is very lax compared to what I'm hearing other cities are doing. I hear them taking much firmer action than we are. And I just would like to, I agree completely. I think we should evaluate where the statutes sit, what we're able to do, and, you know, maybe we need to increase the ability of our code enforcement as long as it's within the statutes. I feel like we give every chance in the world, and then it's a long, drawn-out process that takes forever to get nowhere. I hear other cities doing things and getting things done with much stiffer regulation.
Yeah, I have no issue with that, but I think the question before us tonight is whether or not we're going to move forward with the current magistrate that we have, or get someone else, or do a code board. Now, I've sat in on a majority of the code hearings here in this chamber over the last year, and I can tell you I'm not satisfied with the way things are going, and I think it's time that we move in a different direction, and I think we can get a lot more things done if we move in a different direction. It's not saying anything bad about the current magistrate or anything else, but after 11 years and what's been happening and what I've seen, it is my view that I believe that we should move in a different direction with a new person, and then we can also bring forward the things that you all are talking about now and have that person actually be a part of that at the same time. So,
Yes, I echo what Mr. Jones is saying.
Okay.
Okay, now I see two issues, and I'm Councilmember Jones, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. But one issue is that we're talking about a timing thing. I mean, if we go through a study on what we want to do with code enforcement, and we have our staff do that, unless we authorize funds for the city manager to bring in an outsider to do that work, we're not talking about something that the staff can do in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And then, so in the interim, while we potentially have things that may have to come for a decision about code enforcement, I wouldn't be opposed to Mr. Armitage continuing to perform that function. However, if we feel like we want to completely cut that and go to a different direction, then I think we need to authorize the funds that are required for the city manager to bring in an outside person. I don't know if our attorney would feel like that within the scope of her work that she would. I don't know how comfortable she would be, and that would be a decision that she can make and let us know. But I feel like that if timing becomes an issue, then we need to make sure we give the city manager the funds that are required. It's not in the budget right now for him to spend money on something like this. And it's not within our staff's time frame to move away from what they're doing to do this. We're asking for something extra. So I agree with what Councilmember Jones is saying. I agree with what Councilmember Nunn is saying, and so forth. So, I mean, Vice Mayor Jones, excuse me.
yeah, we're fine.
Okay.
There was a third option we didn't discuss that was mentioned, which was, are we interested in a code board? I mean, I think we should either talk about it or take it off the table and make that.
Until, this is my feeling on that. Until we get something from someone who equates all this back to state code and what the requirements are and what the parameters are, I don't know that we can make that decision. I was on the code board in Sebastian for years. I was a chair for 3 years, okay? And I can tell you that the code board does have limitations, in my opinion, but they also have strengths, in my opinion. One of the issues about using a special magistrate is that the special magistrate actually, as far as the state is concerned and as far as court issues are concerned, a special magistrate is a much greater authority in that process than a code board is. So I would like to see something from someone who has in-depth knowledge in code enforcement from the state statute point of view, as well as our input to put something together before we make that decision as to whether we want to go with a special magistrate or a code board. I wouldn't personally have any prejudice towards either of those directions if someone who can come back and say, well, based on your issues, it's better for you to use a special magistrate because now you have a state-sanctioned legal authority who's dealing with these issues versus a citizen board who then has to go forward with it. If we use a citizen board, then our attorney becomes our citizen board's attorney. And so, that may be another issue. I don't know. So I would like to see us bring in someone who, either that or for our city attorney to do this. We talked about this 4 or 5 years ago when Jim Stokes was our attorney, and he began the process of putting that together, and then he left, and it died.
Right.
The council actually directed him to do this 5 years ago when he was our attorney. But when he left, it died. It just never got picked up on. So I think it's time to pick that up and to go forward with it. I would have personally no issue with Mr. Armitage continuing to perform that function if we need it performed in the interim from a timing point of view, or I would have no issue providing Mr. Benton with the funds that are required for him to bring somebody in from the outside to put this together.
I'm in agreement with that. I think we need to know the processes, the timelines of everything, and then we can make a determination, do we want the special magistrate?
Yeah.
Or do we have a board who could do exactly what we want to see done?
This was a standard business decision. I would want a white paper from somebody telling me what the impacts, what the options, what the pros, what the cons, and so forth are to make that decision. And so I wouldn't want to make it without something like that.
Yeah, but I think if you go to, correct me if I'm wrong, if we were to go to a code board, then things would be handled at the courthouse and not here. Is that correct? It would go through the county court?
No.
No, it would, so instead of the magistrate, you would just have, similar to a zoning board, you would have volunteers that would meet once a month rather than having a special magistrate come in. And like I explained before, I think when we first talked about this, there's pros and cons to both. The con to the magistrate is a lot of times it's more of like a lawyer setting or a judicial, the people feel it's more like a courtroom, and they go beyond a normal code enforcement board. A board is usually just your average citizens or from the community, and they're making those determinations based on their knowledge and experience and the facts, but they don't usually try to get into playing lawyer. When you have the special magistrate, it turns into more of a courtroom, and people are confused and thinking he's a judge. He's not a judge. He's only a special magistrate. He only has the ability under law to determine whether your code is being violated. Then it goes to the courthouse after that. But they can appeal the decision of the code board as well to the courthouse. So, but the hearings would be just like any other citizen board down here in the chambers.
I think there's a tendency on the part of the code officers themselves to probably not bring forward things to the special magistrate until because they view that as a court, maybe. I know my experience when I was on the code board is things were brought to the code board that had not gotten to the level that they go to the special magistrate, and the code board had an opportunity to deal with that. So to me, and I'm not saying that I think a code board is the proper way to go. I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to see how the state law works and so forth on that. But I just agree with what I'm hearing from everybody. I'm uncomfortable with the way the process is working, not with the code officers. Please, guys, don't call me and tell me, I'm not at all uncomfortable with the way that the chief and the code officers are handling the work that they do, okay? I think the city, though, is not following through. I think the whole process is dying at some point in time, and we have code violations that go on and on and on and on. And I would like to see the council, I think that's where it belongs. We're basically the judicial point on this. I think the council needs to revise our entire code procedure to make a statement of where we want that on and on to stop and how we want it to stop. And that's what I'm hearing from other cities. They don't go on and on and on. They stop. Now, I'm not sure I want to stop to the point where one guy tells me if somebody doesn't cut their grass, we send somebody there and charge them $300. I don't want to go there. Right. But I also don't want things to go on and on and on, and then find out later that it's not going to ever be fixed because we dropped it or something. Okay. So that's my two cents worth. If you want a motion, I'll make a motion, but.
Okay, so we're looking at Mr. Armitage can go through the process, timeframes and everything, and then we can look at what we're working with. And because we would need a stopgap anyways. We couldn't just jump to a board.
Under this new contract, if we want to, we could approve this new contract. We could do this. We could authorize this study by the city staff. At the time the study's finished, we can terminate the contract. It's within the contract. It's no problem at all to do that. That keeps us covered in the interim. It does increase our cost to Mr. Armitage, which is fine. It does keep us covered in the interim. And then we can direct Mr. Benton to come back with something to the council on the process to put together that study and whether he needs funds to do that or whether the current staff can do it. And I would be more than willing, to give him funds to do that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring it back. I brought this to your attention and brought it back to council because I felt like, the council needed to consider whether you wanted a new magistrate in order to make things go a little, faster and less of the judicial sort of type setting. To me, if you are asking my opinion on, how to go forward, I hesitate to kick it down the curb or kick the can along a little more. I mean, we've been talking about this since at least, I want to say I brought it up at our workshop, which was in early 2024. But then we did talk about it specifically in July and September last year. And now we're 6 months later. The more we do studies or whatnot, we'll have to change the code. These are things that take a long time. Consultants, hiring consultants, bringing it back. I mean, I think, we need to ultimately remember we're having the goal of compliance. And if you want to beef up code enforcement with, Mr. Benton and potentially more staff and whatnot. But end of the day, the outside council budget is funding this, and whatever way you go, there will need to be funds appropriated for that.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that I would.
But also, you did.
Okay, this is my opinion and what I exactly heard from the vice mayor. We're not getting compliance. We're not comfortable with getting compliance. And it doesn't matter whether we have a special magistrate or what. We have a procedure that's just defined on how they do code enforcement. And we're not getting, I don't think we're getting what the citizens of the city need to get from that effort. And if it takes us reviewing our processes, if it takes us reviewing any ordinances, whatever it takes for us to get there, that's what I would like to see us do. And if we have to bring an outside person in to do that, then we can put together a budget, and I would be more than willing to make a motion to authorize the funds to do that.
So I have a question I'd like to propose before we do that. Do you feel like our magistrate is not as effective as he could be because of the code, or do you feel like our magistrate's not as effective as we need him to be?
Right.
That's kind of an answer I don't want to give because I don't know the answer to that.
I know what I'm hearing, and
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I honestly don't know the answer to that because I'm not sure that, I really don't know. I haven't been to all the meetings like the vice mayor has, and I can't tell you whether it's because he's individually not effective. I don't want to say that, as I go through that process. I think the process is not effective. I mean, we have code fines that are going against people that.
But how do we know that if we don't change the magistrate? How do we know it's the process?
But okay, let's look at it this way. In our quarterly report, we see hundreds of code issues identified. Mm-hmm. And we have seen 3 go to the special magistrate in 4 months. How do we know that we're elevating the right number? Because we don't have a procedure to tell us that. How do we know that we're doing fining so all I can tell you is that I can remember back in the days there was a code board having 6 different cases come in front of us that had nothing to do with us trying to do a legal case against somebody. It had, so.
I may shed some light on that if you like.
Yeah.
So generally, I'll get a docket from the clerk for the code board at the beginning of the month with the initial number of cases on it. And it'll generally be anywhere from probably, I'm not sure if you know, generally around 10 to 20, I would say. And then by the time that the hearing comes around, it's narrowed down to 2 or 3 because they come into compliance.
Yeah. Well, here, let me give you a scenario. I'm approached by a code officer because I've done something. Don't care what it is, I've done something. And he tells me I have to be in compliance in 5 days. 5 days comes back and he comes by and he tells me I have to be in compliance in 5 days. He brings a case forward and it comes to the magistrate, and it's 3 months later when it gets to the magistrate. And I'm told I'm going to be brought before the special magistrate. So I go and I move my thing, and I call him, I'm in compliance. I move my thing right back. Okay? There's never any action taken as a result of that. There's nothing done to consider the fact that there are repeat offenders.
Well, we do put that in the orders, and when they go back out, there's an enhanced fine.
Where's the fine levied? I haven't seen any list of fines being levied.
Well, that's a question we can get answered.
Okay, so let me kind of
Since
explain
I've
what I'm
come on
asking
board.
for. Here's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for a white paper that defines how the process works today, defines how people are brought into compliance, and then let us determine whether we think something needs to be changed about that. I watch Senate hearings all day long, and I hear people complain all day long, but they don't ever make a ruling and decide something. I don't see this as a staff issue. I see the decision being made at the council level as to whether we think there are issues that need to take place with this. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just not comfortable that we're getting the bang for the buck that we have to get.
So I don't disagree with you, but I think we have to focus on the original ask. And the original ask wasn't about the process. I think we can definitely agree that a takeaway is we evaluate our process from beginning to end. But for the original question, and what we're here for is, do we want to replace the existing magistrate? And partially the answer is yes. So I think we probably need a motion to move one direction or the other. I think, hearing Mr. Jones, I think I know his direction just because I've heard what he said. So I'm going to make a motion to deal with this exact topic, and is that we let the existing contract expire and work into this 1-year can be canceled contract with Robin Hadaway, and we discuss how to fund this as going forward.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion on this?
And once again, I am not at all disputing
Correct.
the process and what we need to do. I just think that we've had some discussion. I've watched a few of the hearings and haven't been thrilled with how they went. And I do question, maybe the process is part of it, maybe the person is part of it. I just think we have an opportunity to work on that while we're doing this, and at the same time, make a move forward.
Not to mention, I believe last year it was that we received information, because we've been talking about this for a while, the code violations, and we received documentation indicating how many code complaints were, how many came into compliance, and that type of stuff. Is that correct, Mr. Benton?
Yes, sir.
So we have that documentation, and we have received that everything is moving forward, that things are being taken care of, and if there is a repeat offender, there is an enhanced violation for the second and the third, or I don't know how far it goes down, whether it's just second and third, but there are enhanced penalties for anything on a second or third violation. So it's not like they're just dropping it. The penalties have been increased if there's a repeat violation. So I'm repeating myself now, but I'm just frustrated, so.
Can we
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask Councilmember another question, please?
Yes, sir.
In your motion, did you provide additional funds?
You said we do
I
that.
did say that we need to decide that if we decide this is the direction we want to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And also direction on who'll sign the letter if that's the route that you go, because I wasn't sure if you wanted it to be council or from the city manager.
I think it should be the council, just my opinion. I see you have the mayor on here, and
No, I left it blank.
I think it should be the representative of the council. It's our decision, not the city
So
manager's
can I get a
decision.
clarification? Your motion is that the mayor sign a contract with a special magistrate to be chosen by the staff?
No, the lady who's on in here.
Lady that's on
The one
there.
who's in here.
Okay, the lady that's on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
to
All
move
right.
to-
I just want to make sure I heard that right.
Yeah, no, it was to contract with the existing person that is in the agenda, Ms. Hadaway,
New person.
the new person, and that we discuss, if we agree to do this, the funds of how to pay for this once we're done. But yeah, and I see no issue with our council representative signing, the mayor signing this document, if that's legal.
Yes.
You get a motion, a second, and a third.
Yeah.
Roll call it, Jeanette, so we know.
Any public input or Zoom? Did we do that?
Anybody, public input? Anyone on Zoom?
This time.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
I'm going to be a no vote, not because I disagree with the decision, but I just don't think we're solved the problem.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor McPartlin?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
All right, now let's discuss the money situation. Mr. Benton, you got an idea?
Well, you have a quote in the document, do you not?
Right.
An hourly quote?
Yeah,
Yes.
$400 an hour.
Yeah, so I mean, you don't know how many hours, you're just gonna get charged that per hour.
Correct.
So-
We're gonna be per billable hour.
Yeah.
So
No travel time.
Looking at, correct. So, and looking at the remainder of the year, I think we've pretty much already allocated the full amount that was budgeted, which was $30,000 in contractual attorneys, which covers, any outside counsel that, Jennifer has to obtain. So with that, I would say that we probably need to, make a budget adjustment.
So did we do a budgeting adjustment for the pension one too? Is it going to be lumped that way or no? Okay. So,
I would say we probably
know the
need
current-
to, for the instance,
you don't know off the top of your head, you don't know?
to allow us to finish out the year, we're about 6 months in. Allocate an additional $30,000 to fund the contractual. Obviously, you all are fully aware of who we spend money with and that allocation. That'll get us the current, situation we're in with legal, and then the additional code enforcement or a special magistrate, as we go forward. So we currently have 2 outside attorneys.
Right.
The one case and then the pension one that you all had approved previously. And then this special magistrate, that would get us the additional funds to hopefully get us through this fiscal year.
Where would we pull that money from? Suggested.
We would have to take it from reserves, general fund reserves.
So $30,000 is enough?
So for example, we paid Mr. Almartage $3,400 last year at $150 an hour. So, but that was for 8 months, for 8 invoices. And so if you basically doubled that, maybe tripled 150 times 400 would be to 1.5, right?
Did you say 3,400 or 34,000?
No,
3,400.
3,400, 3,400 for 12 invoices.
20 grand.
Yeah,
And that's not including travel time. He didn't
Are
charge
you
us for
trying to
travel time.
increase the budgeted amount for outside attorneys? Is
Yes,
that what
we're
you're
gonna
trying
have
to
to.
do?
We have to.
Okay, why can't we just do those off budget? I mean, it's a budget exception when you, are we trying to establish some parameter that you're gonna ask our attorney to live within, or how are we?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want it to go on. I would prefer that we establish an additional amount.
I mean, we approve, every time she brings an outside counsel, we approve that.
We approve the outside
Okay,
counsel,
so-
but we don't approve an amount for the outside counsel.
Okay, so
So at this point, I'm just looking for an additional amount to allocate to that fund.
Okay.
If we need to come back later and ask for even more, we'll fully disclose it to you all.
Okay, so if the special magistrate does 5 hours a month, 9 months, $400, that's $16,000. So what you're saying is that we just approved that contract, and you need to fund that contract. So I would move that we approve the $16,000 expense for the new special magistrate contract for the remainder of this fiscal year.
I understand that, and then I'm asking at 30 because we have additional outside expenses.
But for what purpose?
We have
I
the pension attorney, and then we also have the legal attorney with Mr. Mai.
Okay, but you brought the pension attorney forward as an action item for the council, and they approved that attorney.
Correct.
And you just didn't ask for any money, is that what you're saying?
We gave a rough amount of 15,000 at the time.
Okay, so, but as part of the approval of that, was the $15,000 not included? I mean, it seems to me we've already bumped it by 15. That should be in.
We hadn't allocated it out of fund reserve, though.
It gets confusing because when we approve an item with a budgeted amount, then we've approved that budget. I mean, that's just the way the process works. So if we approve that pension attorney and you said it was going to be $15,000, then in reality, we've approved $15,000.
Okay, I understand that. 15,000, so we're good there. We
Yeah.
got 16,000 with
Right,
this.
I mean, so you could stick that
So we're at
$15,000 in your thing, because we've approved that. What we haven't approved is money to pay this additional special magistrate, because we approved the contract without approving additional funds for you to pay the special magistrate.
That's what we're doing now.
Well, I think where we run into with the legal fees is that we don't come to you all with a set amount. For instance, we had to get legal representation from Mr. Mai. We only have $30,000 allocated for all outside legal counsel. So where we're at tonight was I was just asking to have an additional allocation. But I'm completely fine with, we'll have to come back at a later time to do an additional amount if we go above where we're looking at going, but 16,000 for special magistrate, 15,000 was previously approved by you all for the pension attorney. I'm completely fine with that.
You are?
That gets us to 61,000.
Yeah, because we've already approved the
60, so I'm
15.
good.
So if we approve 16 tonight for the special magistrate, you've got your,
Yes.
I mean, I have no problem approving $30,000 to do this. It's just there's a procedural process here. Once we approve an item, the budget for that item is approved. You don't have to come back for further approval on that.
Correct. What we had basically done with the pension attorney was we had asked for your approval to obtain pension representation.
Yeah.
Once we did that, we didn't know what the amount was going to be.
Okay, all
So-
right. I understand what you're saying, because I thought in that item there was a dollar amount.
We had given you a rough number.
So-
We had given you a rough number
Okay,
at the time.
all right.
So for your information, my budget report for February was at 21,000 spent on Mr. Mai and Mr. Armitage for this fiscal year at 72% expended.
Oh, wow.
Okay, how about if I make a motion that we approve Mr. Benton to transfer $30,000 from reserves to the outside counsel account?
Second.
That motion is second. Oh, finance guy's in.
Now we're in trouble.
Oh, boy.
Well, he's not going to like it.
Wow, he got up quick.
He's not going to like it, I know.
Sorry, guys, got to say something. I'm starting to learn how things are working here, so just listening to you all, I'm trying to, I hope to help clarify it. A budget amendment had been being done quarterly here, and the last one was done on June 30th of '24. So I'm currently working to try and get us caught up on all the budget amendments. The budget amendments were included in the quarterly reports that you were getting. So when you approve the quarterly reports, you would approve the budget amendment. So what I'm doing is pulling out the budget amendments and reformatting them a little bit so you can see what the council's already approved as a line item on the budget amendment, what would come out of reserves, and what is an actual transfer between line items, and if it has been approved. And that way it'll come to you as a separate budget amendment item. So like when you approve this contract, then I would add it to that budget amendment resolution to be coming before you at the next, quarter. So if that makes sense, that's how I plan on doing it.
It sounds to me like you're covering him. It sounds to me like you're covering his budget amendment requirements.
Well, I wanted to make sure it goes in as a budget amendment.
Right.
Now, on what I give you, it will show if you have already approved it or not.
Right.
And you can, of course, bring anything in or out, of that amendment as we go.
Okay.
But that was the plan going forward, is to get everything that you have approved and everything that you haven't approved, and to show what's going to come out of fund balance and what's just between line item changes. So I will tell you that the 15,000 for the pension attorney, Jen actually found some line items to pull that money out of, so it don't have to come out of reserves. Anything, what?
Good job, good job, good job.
He just lost $15,000.
No, it wasn't going into my budget, that's the attorney's budget. Well, that's fine. I just didn't want to, my biggest concern with that was I didn't want to deplete the finance department's line items and kind of start hitting those items for the outside counsel. So we're.
I mean,
as long as we're
that's
fine.
what she had told me. I mean, if you make the approval like you wanted, then, and we don't use it, then, we don't use it. It's all going to come before you in that budget amendment once I get time to get it all done. So.
Yep.
I guess my biggest problem is I don't like approving dollars to be spent without knowing where they're going to be spent.
Yeah,
so-
anything that's
Well,
outside
correct,
the
and
budget.
that's why we were trying to allocate the dollars
Right.
tonight.
So we
have
yeah.
a ballpark guesstimate
Okay,
of where we're
so
allocating.
If we're talking about providing you $30,000 in order to pay for the pension attorney and to pay for the new, the new code special magistrate, and to pay additional fees to or other outside of council, then I don't have any problem doing that, because I expect to see something someplace coming back that says this is how it's gonna be broken apart. So if that's, the motion I made was basically to allow you to do that.
Correct, and it's all line itemed out. It can't
Okay.
go into any other fund other than contractual attorneys
Right.
under the city attorney's budget. And so, you know, in piggybacking off what Brian said, there are budget adjustments that happen, on a quarterly basis that can have my approval, and that's on me amongst our budget that doesn't include coming out of reserves. Reserves, I always come to you all and asking you that, but we do have budget adjustments from line items that happen that I can approve up to a certain threshold.
Okay.
Those are the ones that you'll see on the quarterly report. Plus, you'll see this one that you all have already allocated and others that you allocated to come out of reserves that you'll see that you've already approved.
Okay. So I see no reason to remove my motion. I think we can vote on it.
Also, I wanted to remind you that from my knowledge of what I know, and maybe the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have to have a resolution to make that budget amendment.
We haven't in the past, but if we need to bring it back,
Yeah, there was a resolution included in the quarterly report to go along with each budget
Correct.
amendment.
Correct. So with the quarterly report, there is a resolution that goes with it. But we don't do this on an individual, we lump it all together with the budget adjustment.
All right, so I'm going to withdraw my motion.
Yep. So we'll make the budget adjustment, it'll come back to you all in the quarterly report with the resolution.
Perfect.
They all get lumped together.
Okay.
You've given us the consensus to utilize $30,000.
I'm pulling
is
it
that?
out of the quarterly reports, remember? I'm gonna do it separate.
For clarification, is that the 30 is for the special magistrate and to cover the other things that may go over budget, or you're including the pension attorney now too into that? Because if
I'd
you
like to see-
15, up to 15 for the pension attorney, and then based on your math for the new special magistrate, that wipes it out for the remainder of the year. And then there's the remainder of the special counsel litigation stuff and any septic to sewer issues, there would be no remaining funds.
Okay, we've approved the pension attorney, we've approved the special magistrate. We've, in the past, approved Mr. Mai is being hired. I would prefer that we just go ahead and wait for our financial officer to give us that quarterly report on the budget amendments that need to take place to pay for these approved items, and that we then, by resolution, approve that data and not do any action tonight. Nobody here is saying they're not going to give you the money to pay for what we've approved. So I would rather we go through the process and let that come back through the chief financial officer on, in order to pay for the things you've approved, here's what I've got to do.
I'm comfortable with that.
To that. Okay.
Brian, are you?
We'll complain about it when you come with it, but it's good for tonight, right?
He's not really fine with it, but,
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Any other matters?
no, sir.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Mr. Benton.
Nothing to add.
Ms. Williams.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Jones.
Nothing.
I have nothing. Mr. Nunn.
Nothing.
Ms. Dixon.
I just want to thank Mr. Blankenship for working hard to bring more youth programs to Sebastian. Between the I-9, the tennis tournaments, all you do for Sebastian River Rowing, thank you.
Here, here. Mr. Dodd.
Okay, I do. Don't everybody put your stuff away yet, but I'd like to know if there's a consensus for us to ask Mr. Benton to put together a letter of support for the CAT ladies' proposal to the county. If there is, fine. If there's not, that's also the way it is. So the county's going to have to take this action if they choose to take it, but I'd like to know if there's any consensus from the city council that they'd like to, Mr. Benton, put together something to the county for that.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
I don't know if it'll help her cause, but
Might
that's fine.
help, but at least we can put it together. I mean,
Right.
you know. Okay, second thing I've got on my line. Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council has asked, there is a Senate Bill 1264 and House Bill 1175 that is actually going to go to sunset all the regional planning councils statewide. It's not a good move for the cities. The planning councils do a lot of good services for the cities, and they've asked that we put together a letter to our state representatives asking that they, and I didn't deal with this when we were in Tallahassee the last couple of days because it wasn't part of what the League of Cities is dealing with. Mr. Lehman, Tom, the executive director of Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, has a resolution that he would a pattern resolution. I didn't bring a copy of it tonight, but we can get that. I just know if there's a consensus for us to let Mr. Benton put that together and send it to our legislative delegation.
I have no problem.
No problem.
It's an important council, so it's important, so yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Also, the Florida League of Cities, there is right now a move at the federal government level to do away with tax-exempt municipal bonds, and it's very active. And we can talk to our financial guy, but if we have some very big projects coming up, and we probably are going to have to take the bonding route to pay for some of this. And if they do away with tax-exempt municipal bonds, it's going to cause us a problem. I have a draft resolution that they provided that the National League of Cities and the Florida League of Cities would like us to send that to our federal delegation, asking that they oppose that action. So if there's a consensus to kind of deal with that, I would be helpful. Is there?
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
God, I'm batting 3 now.
Yep.
All right, and I do have one comment, and Brian, I'll let you know later. I've received a phone call from Representative Brackett. He said he has some good news on the CRA stuff. So when I get the call back to him, I'll let you know. Just you know, their effort to do away with CRAs, we adamantly opposed that with our legislative delegation the last 2 days up there. So hopefully something good will happen with that. We had a good trip to Tallahassee. If anybody wants to talk to Brian about what went on, they might want to spend some time with him and talk about it. So
Yeah.
And if I might add, I know you all had requested that we send letters on some different bills and stuff, and I'll be drafting a few more for the mayor to sign and send them off. But one of the main ones the one we've done so far is the CRA one. And I know that Representative Brackett had the letter on his desk yesterday when we were in his office. So at least acknowledge that they've received it, he's read it through, and he appreciated, you know, our language that we had provided to him, so.
yeah.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I did have one thing that I forgot, and this, not that I forgot, but I wanted to make sure we're at the end. Our good friend, Ms. Laura Laporte, from Laporte Farms, passed away this past Monday morning at 10:34 at her home on the farm. So send condolences to the family and the community for what Laporte Farms mean to all of us in this area. So, and you know, if anything comes up later, I'll be happy to share with you guys. So,
All right. Thank you.
No, I just before I finish, these are our resolutions they're asking for. I don't know from the legal staff, but if there's a consensus to do that, I'm assuming that we can put these together as a resolution and send them out, or is there something?
Sorry, I'm always having mic issues. I need to look at them.
Okay, I've got a sample of the one for
Yeah.
the federal stuff that I can give you.
Okay.
Look at. Okay.
Just sort them along
There's
to me, and
timing
then
is an
we'll.
issue on this legislative stuff, you know.
Right.
So.
So just give consensus tonight that you agree to send them forward if we can, and if necessary, bring them back to you.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Anything further?
Nope, sir. Thank you.
No other business or adjourn?